I completed a living dex in Generation 3. That's 386 Pokemon caught between 2 spin-off games, 2 bonus discs, and 5 mainline Pokemon games, 2 of which I had to replay in Japanese. Hello everyone, my name is King Zorak, and today I'm going to show you how I completed the ultimate Generation 3 Catch 'em All challenge. The rules of this challenge are pretty straightforward. I have to play through and catch every Pokemon available in the Generation 3 games, and once I'm done, I have to trade them over to Pokemon Emerald to build a living dex. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. I've been working on this video since October, so any support means a lot to me. With that out of the way, let's begin with Generation 1, where we meet Red and Green, who will begin our challenge. Red begins his journey out in Professor Oak's lab, where he picks Charmander to be his starter Pokemon. And while he is busy battling his rival Blue and running an errand for Professor Oak, we meet our second Pokemon trainer Green, who just made her way to Professor Oak's lab to choose her first starter Pokemon, Bulbasaur. Green will have to pick up another starter Pokemon later on, so let's check back in with Red, who just received his Pokedex and some Pokeballs, and is making his way through Route 1 where he catches a Rattata and 3 Pidgeys. Red then links up with Green where he trades over one of his Pidgeys for her Bulbasaur. We will check in with Green later since she has to pick another starter Pokemon. In the meantime, Red heads over to Route 22 where he catches a Spearow and a Mankey. Red's next stop is Viridian Forest, but before he can go through there, some random old man stops and teaches him how to catch Pokemon. So while that's happening, Green chooses her second starter Pokemon, Squirtle, and is about to battle Blue for the second time. So while that happens, Red makes his way through Viridian Forest where he caught a Weedle, Caterpie, Metapod, 2 Pikachus, and a Kakuna. With all the wild Pokemon caught in Viridian Forest, Red evolved his Charmander into Charmeleon before defeating Brock in Pewter City. With Brock now defeated, Red can pass through Route 3 where he caught 2 Jigglypuffs, Nidoran male and a Nidoran female. Before heading through Mount Moon, Red stops in the Pokemon Center and buys a Magikarp for 500 Pokédollars. Passing through Mount Moon, Red caught Zubat, Geodude, Paris, 2 Clefairies, and after defeating a Team Rocket grunt on the basement floor, Bulbasaur evolved into Ivysaur. Clefairy evolved into Clefable since it was holding a Moonstone, and Jigglypuff evolved into Wigglytuff after picking up another Moonstone. With all that evolving out the way, Red grabbed the Helix fossil before exiting Mount Moon. Now that Red has made his way through Mount Moon, let's check in with Green and see what she's been up to. As Green was making her way through Route 3, she evolved her Squirtle into Wartortle, as well as evolving Pidgey into Pidgeotto after defeating a Budcatcher in Mount Moon. Green then grabbed the Dome fossil before leaving Mount Moon. Continuing on to Route 4, Green caught a Sandshrew, and after defeating all the trainers on the Nugget Bridge, Green was able to access Route 24, where she caught a Bellsprout and an Abra. After helping Bill, Green made her way towards Vermilion City, and as she was passing through Route 5, she caught a Meowth. After arriving in Vermilion City, Green went east into Diglett's Cave, where she caught a Diglett and Dugtrio, before heading back to Route 11 where she caught a Drowsy. After finishing things up on the SS Anne, Green made her way back to Pewter City to grab the Old Amber, as well as the HM for Flash. This allowed Green to make her way through Rock Tunnel, where she caught a Machop and 2 Onix before exiting onto Route 10. Now, let's see what Red's been up to. Back on Route 4, Red caught an Ekans, as well as evolving Ivysaur into Venusaur after battling a Hiker in Rock Tunnel. Once Red reached Route 8, he caught a Growlithe and obtained a free Eevee in Celadon City. Red then bought a Firestone and 2 Thunderstones from the Celadon City department store, which allowed Growlithe to evolve into Arcanine, Eevee into Jolteon, and Pikachu into Raichu, before hitting up the game corner and playing the slots in order to buy 2 Porygons. Afterwards, Red challenged Erica, and once he defeated her, Charmeleon evolved into Charizard. Red then takes down Giovanni in the Rocket Hideout, which earns him the Silph Scope. This allows him to catch Ghastly, 2 Haunters, and a Cubone in the Pokemon Tower. With Mr. Fuji saved, Red obtained the Pokeflute, which will be useful for later. In the meantime, Red made his way over to the Saffron City Dojo. Here, he got a free Hitmonlee after defeating the Karate Master, as well as a free Lapras from the Silph Co employee. With Erica and Giovanni taken care of, Red made his way through Route 12, where he caught a Snorlax. The Fisherman Guru's brother is also on this route and gave Red the Super Rod. This allowed Red to catch 2 Horsey, one of which was shiny, before catching a Gyarados. A little further down on Route 12, Red also caught a Venonat and 2 Glooms. On Route 13, Red caught a Ditto, and once he arrived in Fuchsia City, he evolved Gloom into Vileplume with the Leaf Stone, as well as fishing on Route 19 where he caught a Psyduck and 2 Seadras. With all that fishing taken care of, Red paid a visit to the Safari Zone where he caught a Rhydon, 2 Nidorinos, Parasect, Execute, 2 Nidorinas, Chansey, and Scyther. With all these Safari Zone catches done, Red evolved Nidorina into Nidoqueen and Nidorino into Nidoking. Now that Red has finished up with the Safari Zone, let's check in with Green and see what she's been up to. As soon as Green arrived in Lavender Town, she traded to evolve Haunter into a Gengar, and once she made it to Route 8, she caught a Vulpix. Afterwards, Green made her way to Celadon City, where she grabbed the free Eevee, which she evolved into a Flareon with the Firestone, as well as Vulpix evolving into Ninetales with another Firestone. At the game corner, Green bought 2 Dratinis and evolved one of them into Dragonair after defeating Erica and taking down the Team Rocket warehouse in Celadon City. After defeating the Karate Master in Saffron City, Green evolved Pidgeotto into Pidgeot, as well as receiving a free Hitmonchan. And once Green took care of Giovanni, Wartortle evolved into Blastoise. Green then made her way down to Route 16 and caught a Doduo and a Fearow. Once she arrived in Fuchsia City, she received the Good Rod from the Fisherman Guru's brother. She then fished into the pond in his backyard and caught a Goldeen and Poliwag. On Route 12, Green caught a Krabby after receiving the Super Rod and 2 Weeping Bells. Back on Route 6, Green caught 2 Poliwhirls, one of which Green trades for a Jinx in Cerulean City. With the trade done, Green then evolved one of her Weeping Bells with the Leaf Stone, and back on Route 19, Green caught a Kingler. After defeating Koga and obtaining the HM for Surf, she made her way back to the Safari Zone where she caught 2 Slowpokes. She then made her way to the power plant where she caught a Magnemite and Zapdos. Surfing to the Seafoam Islands, Green caught a Tentacool, and in the Seafoam Islands, Green caught 2 Golpats, Slowbro, Seal, Dugong, and Articuno. As Green was making her way to Cinnabar Island, she caught a Tangela on Route 21. Once she arrived at Cinnabar Island, she caught a Staryu and revived the Dome Fossil and the old Amper Fossil to receive a Kabuto and Aerodactyl. In the Pokemon Mansion, Green caught Grimer, Muck, and Raticate. After defeating Blaine, Green and Bill sailed over to one island, where she caught a Tentacruel, Ponyta, Persian, and Rapidash. Next, Green made her way through Mount Ember, where she caught a Magmar, 2 Machokes, 2 Gravelers, and at the peak of the mountain, she caught Moltres. After traveling to 3 Island, Green made her way through the Berry Forest where she caught Seeking and Hypno. Now that everything is taken care of the Sevi Islands, let's check back in with Red and see what he's been up to. After defeating Koga, Red also made his way to the power plant. Here, he caught Electabuzz and Electrode. Once Red arrived in Cinnabar Island, he caught a Shelter that he immediately evolved into Cloyster with the Water Stone. He then revived the Helix Fossil into an Ammonite and caught a Weezing in the Pokemon Mansion. Before traveling to the Sevi Islands, Red linked up with Green to evolve Machoke into Machamp and Graveler into Golem. After taking care of the Sevi Islands and defeating Giovanni, Red made his way through Route 23 where he caught a Primeape and an Arbok. From that point, Red defeats the Pokemon League and enters the Hall of Fame, unlocking more Pokemon to catch. So, let's check in with Green and see how she's been doing. On Route 23, she caught a Sandslash before traveling over to 4 Island where she caught 2 Marials. After dealing with Team Rocket in Icefall Cave, Green sailed over to 6 Island and caught a Sentret on the water path, as well as grabbing the Dragon Scale. And while she was chasing down the scientist who stole her Sapphire in the dotted hole, Red caught a Wooper on 4 Island, and after grabbing a Sunstone in Ruin Valley, Red evolved his Gloom into Blossom. On 7 Island in the Sea Vault Canyon, Red caught 2 Fanpies, 2 Larvatars, and a Marowak. After solving the strength puzzle in the Tenobi Key, Red was able to capture Unknown in the Webth Chamber. With all the brand new Pokemon Red caught, he began taking down the Trainer Tower to gather all the evolution trade items. While he was doing that, Green managed to track down the scientist at the 5 Island Meadow, where she caught 2 Hoppips. After Green got the Sapphire back to Celio, she unlocked the ability to enter Cerulean Cave, where she caught 2 Kadabras and Mewtwo. She then linked back up with Red to evolve Slowpoke into Slowking, Poliwhirl into Politoed, Onix into Steelix, Kadabra into Alakazam, Scyther into Scizor, and Seadra into Kingdra. With all the trading done, Red went back to Victory Road where he evolved Phanpy into Donphan, Larvitar into Pupitar, Marrow to Azumarill, and Golbat into Crobat. With most of the Kanto Pokemon caught and a tiny amount of Johto ones obtained, it's time that we meet with our second set of trainers who will help us catch, or shall I say snag, a majority of the Johto Pokemon needed for the Pokedex. In a region known as Ore, we are introduced to a mysterious trainer known as Wes, who starts out the game with an Umbreon and an Espeon. After Wes defeats trainer Willy, he travels to Phoenix City where he meets a mysterious girl known as Rui. She has the ability to see Pokemon with the door to their hearts closed, known as Shadow Pokemon. With their special ability, Wes was able to snag a Shadow Makuhita in Phoenix City, as well as a Shadow Croconaw from a trainer named Bluno. Wes then heads over to Pyrite Town in search of Rui's kidnappers. where he snagged a Shadow Noctowl, Flaffy, Skiploom, Quagsire, Misdreavus, Slugma, and Furret. After defeating Pyrite Coliseum, West made his way through a maze-like building connected to Pyrite Cave, where he snagged a Shadow Yanma, Remoraid, Mantine, Quillfish, Meditite, Dunsparce, Swablu, and once West reached the end of the Pyrite Cave, he challenged Myra B and snagged a Shadow Sudowoodo, as well as rescuing Duking's Plusle that he let us keep. With Pyrite taken care of, West heads over to a Gate Village where he snags a Shadow Hitmontop, as well as purifying Croconaw and Flaffy, curing them of their shadowy state. After receiving an email from Duking about Mount Battle being under attack, West heads over to Mount Battle, and after defeating the trainers there, Flaffy evolved into Ampharos, and Croconaw evolved into Feraligatr. West then challenges Dachim and snags his Shadow Entei. With Mount Battle saved, West made his way to the Under, where he snagged a Shadow Ladian, and after hunting down Lady Venus, West snagged her Shadow Suicune. So, Lady Venus decided to run away, and West chased after her, snagging a Shadow Gligar, Stantler, Piloswine, and Sneasel along the way. Eventually, Lady Venus dupes West and escapes, so West headed over to the Shadow Pokemon Lab. Here he snagged the Shadow Aipom, Murkrow, Fortress, Ariados, Granbull, Vibrava, and once West reached the basement floor, he challenged Ian and snagged the Shadow Raikou. With all three Cypher admins defeated, West heads over to Realgam Tower for the final showdown. After rematching the Cypher admins, West snagged the Shadow Sunflora, Delibird, and Heracross. With the Cypher admins out the way, Gonzip challenges West, which allows him to snag a Shadow Skarmory. Once West reaches the top of Realgam Tower, he snagged the Shadow Miltank, Absol, Houndoom, Tropius, Metagross from Nazcaur, and Tyranitar from Evis. After the credits roll, West snags the remaining Shadow Pokemon. In the Snag'em hideout, West snagged the Shadow Quilava, a Shadow Bayleef in the Shadow Pokemon Lab, Smeargle and Ursaring in the Snag'em hideout, Shuckle in the Deep Coliseum, and Togetic in the Outskirts stand. Once West purified every Shadow Pokemon, he challenged Mount Battle, and after defeating the 100th trainer, he received the Ho-Oh. But we aren't finished in the Ori region yet, since it's time to meet Michael, who will help us catch the remaining Johto and Kanto Pokemon we're missing. He starts the game with an Eevee, but soon snags a Shadow Teddiursa from a Cypher peon who kidnapped Professor Crane. Michael then heads over to Gattian Port, and once he arrives there, he evolved Eevee into Vaporeon after getting a Water Stone from the Eevee expert, as well as snagging a Shadow Ladybug and Poochyena. Afterwards, Michael heads over to the Shadow Pokemon Lab. Here, he snags the Shadow Houndour, Spheal, Baltoy, Mareep, Gulpin, Seedot, Spinarak, Numel, Carvanha, and Shroomish. After saving Professor Crane, Lavrena challenges Michael to a battle where he snags her Shadow Delcatty. With the professor safe and sound, he sends Michael to Pyrite Town to deliver a disc to Ned, who tells Michael about Pokespots. So, Michael heads over to the Cave Pokespot, where Myra B challenges him, allowing Michael to snag his Shadow Voltorb. After returning back to the ONBS building in Pyrite Town, Michael discovered that Team Cypher took over, so while saving everyone, he snagged the Shadow Vulpix, Duskull, Routes, and Mawile. With the ONBS station saved, Michael heads over to Phoenix City and discovered that the city was taken over by Cypher Grunts, allowing him to snag a Shadow Snorunt, Pineco, Natu, and Roselia, as well as Swinub. After defeating a Cypher peon, Shroomish evolved into Breloom and Routes evolved into Curlia. Once Michael reached Phoenix Stadium, Snatto challenged him to a battle, allowing Michael to snag his Shadow Lunatone. And while passing through the outskirts stand, a trainer named Portal gave Michael a Shadow Togepi. After defeating Gonzap, Curly evolved into Gardevoir, and Michael made his way to the Cypher Key lair, where he snagged the Shadow Zangoose, Growlithe, Shelder, Beedrill, Pidgeotto, Butterfree, Venomoth, and Magneton, as well as evolving Numel into Camerupt after defeating Gorygon. With the Cypher Key lair taken care of, Michael made his way to the City Dark Owl, and as soon as he got there, he snagged the Shadow Golduck, Sableye, and Dodrio. As Michael was heading towards the elevator, Lavrena challenged Michael to a rematch battle, allowing him to snag her Shadow Farfetch and Altaria, as well as the Shadow Kangaskhan and Banette from a Cypher peon. On the upper floors of City Dark Owl, Michael evolved Snorunt into Glalie and snagged the Shadow Pinsir, Macargo, Lickitung, Chansey, and Scyther. After reaching the top floor, Snatto challenges Michael to a rematch battle, allowing him to snag his Shadow Solrock and Starmie, as well as challenging Cypher admin Ardos, which allowed him to snag his Shadow Swellow. After defeating Ardos, the Myra B Raider went off, so Michael headed back to Rogum's Tower Coliseum and snagged Myra B's Shadow Nose Pass. After returning back to City Dark Owl, Gurgan challenged Michael to a rematch battle, allowing him to snag his Shadow Poliwrath and Mr. Mime. Inside the dome, Eldest challenges Michael to a battle, which allowed Michael to snag his Shadow Manectric and Salamence. Finally, Michael challenged Greevil and snagged his Shadow Lugia, Rhydon, Executor, and Tauros. With everyone saved, Michael can now get the remaining Pokemon he's missing. So back in Gattian Port, he snagged the Shadow Dragonite from Myra B, and after defeating Mount Battle 3 times, he received a Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile. With the Aura region complete, it's time we meet our final 3 trainers who will catch and breed the remaining Pokemon we need. King Z, who begins the game with the Torchic, May, who begins the game with the Trico, and Brendan, who begins the game with the Mudkip. On Route 101, May catches 1 Wurmple and a Zigzagoon. Returning back to Route 102, May caught Wingo, and on Route 103, she caught a Lotad, 2 Rowlts, and 2 Surskit. Meanwhile, Brendan made his way through Route 104, where he caught a Tailo, and as he passed through Petalburg Woods, he caught 2 Cascoon, 3 Slackoth, Shroomish, and 2 Suicune. Once King Z reached Route 116, he caught 2 Ninkadas, Whismur, Skitty, as well as evolving Torchic into Combusken, after defeating the trainers there. While May was challenging Roxanne's gym, Trico evolved into Grovyle, and after arriving in Dewford she caught an Aron in Granite Cave before heading over to Route 110, where she caught 2 Gulpins, Electrike, and Minun. Since May has an upcoming gym battle, she did some grinding and evolved Surskit into Masquerain before making her way back to Dewford to battle Brawly. During this time, Brendan evolved his Mudkip into Marshtomp, then made his way towards Dewford. Once May defeated Brawly, Ralts evolved into Kirlia, and while Brendan and May were busy catching Pokemon, King Z evolved Nincada into Ninjask, and since he had an extra Pokeball and a free slot in his party, he obtained a Shedinja. After defeating Watson and traveling a bit to Route 114, King Z caught 2 Lombres, Seviper, and 2 Nuzleaves. After defeating Maxie on Mount Chimney, Combusken evolved into Blaziken. Passing through the rugged path, King Z caught Spoink, and after arriving in Lava Ridge Town, King Z obtained the Wynot Egg. While King Z was busy dealing with Flannery, Brendan evolved Silken into Buildafly, Cascoon into Dustox, and Slackoth into Vigoroth while making his way to Mawile City. On Route 117, Brendan caught Illumise and Volbeat, Numma on Route 111, Torkoal in the Fiery Path, and Spindle on Route 113. While Brendan was dealing with Team Aqua in Meteor Falls, May evolved Grovyle into Sceptile, then made her way through the desert on Route 111. Here she caught 2 Trapinches, 2 Cacneas, as well as grabbing the root fossil that she revived into a Lileep. After obtaining the Good Rod, May caught a Barboach on Route 111, a Wilmer on Route 103, 2 Corphish on Route 102, and a Pelipper on Route 105. After Brandon defeated Flannery, he evolved Gulpin into Swellow and grabbed the Claw Fossil in the desert, which he revived into an Anorith, as well as evolving Marshtomp into Swampert after defeating a trainer in Norman's gym. After defeating Team Magma at the Weather Institute, Brandon received the Castform and began fishing for a Feebas, which would take some time. So while he was fishing, King Z made his way to the top of Mirage Tower and obtained the Root Fossil. On Route 120, he caught a Mightyena, and after defeating Winona, Loudred evolved into Exploud. In Mount Pyre, King Z grabbed the Sea Incense and caught a Kecleon as he was making his way to the Magma hideout. During this time, Brandon found a Feebas, evolved Vigoroth into Slacking after defeating May and caught a Linoon. In Mount Pyre, Brandon caught Shuppet and Chimecho before heading to the Safari Zone and catching a Wobbuffet, Girafarig, and Xatu. Back in Slateport City, King Z hatched the Wynot Egg and evolved Spoink into Grumbig in the Magma hideout. After getting the Super Rod, King Z caught Sharpedo, and in the Shoal Cave he caught 2 Spheal and a Snorunt. After King Z defeated Tate and Liza, gaining the ability to use Dive outside of battle, King Z caught Clamperl, 2 Chinchous, and a Relicanth, as well as grabbing a green and blue shard that he traded for a Leaf and Waterstone. This allowed him to evolve Lombre into Ludicolo and Nuzleaf into Shiftry. In Evergrande City, King Z caught Lovedisk and Corsola, Wailord on Route 129, and after defeating a couple of trainers, Chinchou evolved into Lantern. After fighting with the Currents on Route 135, King Z found the Sealed Chamber, and while he's deciphering the Braille, May evolved her Vibrava into Flygon, Cacnea into Cacturn, Corphish into Crawdaunt, Lileep into Cradily, and Clamperl into Huntail after defeating all the trainers on the water routes and exploring the abandoned ship. She then defeated Archie at the Seafloor Cavern, which led her to capturing Kyogre in the Cave of Origin. During this time, King Z deciphered the Braille and opened the sealed chamber, allowing him to catch Regirock in the desert ruins, Regice in the island cave, and Registeel in the ancient tomb. After saving the Hoenn region, King Z visited Sky Pillar where he caught Claydol and Rayquaza. While King Z and May take care of the final gym in the Pokemon League, Brendan evolved his Phanpy into Donphan, Anorith into Armaldo, Clamperl into Gorbis, and Feebas into Milotic, which required Brendan to play a berry minigame with some random NPCs. In the Cave of Origin, Brendan caught Groudon, and once he defeated Wallace, gaining the ability to use Waterfall outside of battle, Brendan caught 2 Bagons and Meteor Falls. While heading through Victory Road, Brendan caught Hariyama, Loudred, 2 Larons, Medicham, and Wishcash, as well as evolving Bagon into Shelgon and Lairon into Aggron. After defeating the Pokemon League, Brendan obtained a Beldum, then made his way to Sky Pillar where he caught Dusclops and Latios on Route 110. While he was busy doing this, May managed to evolve Beldum into Metang, catch Latias, and obtain a Jirachi from an event. Now, let's check in with King Z, who evolved his Celio into Walrein while passing through Victory Road, and after defeating the Pokemon League, King Z received the National Dex. Next, King Z made his way through the Desert Underpass where he got the Claw Fossil. Afterwards, he caught the new Pokemon available in the Safari Zone, like Sunkern, Mareep, Snubbull, Hoothoot, and Remoraid. With all the Pokemon caught, King Z began trading with Red, Green, Wes, Michael, Brendan, and May, which allowed him to obtain Porygon 2, as well as all the Pokemon caught throughout the challenge. With all the Pokemon traded over, King Z bred and hatched 2 Charmanders, 2 Squirtles, 2 Bulbasaurs, Magby, Pichu, Igglybuff, Tyrogue, Eevee, Chikorita, Cyndaquil, Totodile, Cleffa, Elekid, Smoochum, Azurill, 2 Mudkips, 2 Tricos, 2 Torchics, Kabuto, and Ammonite. King Z then heads to Victory Road where he evolved Remoraid into Octillery, Spheal into Celio, Mareep into Flaffy, Bulbasaur into Ivysaur, Charmander into Charmeleon, Squirtle into Wartortle, Ammonite into Amistar, Kabuto into Kabutops, Bayleaf into Meganium, Quilava into Typhlosion, Totodile into Croconaw, Chansey into Blissey, Skiploom into Jumpluff, Mudkip into Marshtomp, Torchic into Combuskin, Trico into Grovyle, and Slackoff into Vigoroth. The final 3 Pokemon King Z was missing required special events. Deoxys was caught on Birth Island, Mew was caught on Faraway Island, and Celebi from the Japanese Pokemon Coliseum bonus disc. With these events done, I have successfully caught them all and completed a Living Dex in Generation 3. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, and subscribe for more, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye!